It was a very dark night for Abisola, as her nanny, who have always been kind, treated her like a blood sister and have never maltreated her. But the first time he did was to hurt her this way because of her father's careless behavior. In a small African city lived a very young and beautiful girl named Abimbola. She was the only child of a very successful businessman, Mr. Bamidele, and his wife, Miss Yetunde. Abimbola was the pride and joy of her parents, and they lived happily in one of the most luxurious houses in the city back then, and their home was filled with laughter and joy. However, one day, a tragedy struck, something that would utter a very big negative change in Abimbola's life. As Abimbola's parents, Mr. Bamidele and Miss Yetunde, was returning from an event that evening, their car crashed and burnt Bamidele and his wife beyond recognition. It was the saddest day in Abimbola's life. As a young girl of just 17, it was very painful and heartbreaking for her to lose both her father and her mother in the same day and become an orphan in such an early age. She cried her eyes out, but unfortunately for her, none of her tears could bring her parents and the joy they once shared back. After her parents' burial, Abimbola's uncle, Mr. Femi, came up with his evil and greedy plan. Abimbola was in the house all alone, grieving the loss of her beloved parents late that evening when she had a knock on the door. She opened the door, and it was her uncle, Mr. Femi, who was standing outside with a very big luggage. "Uncle Femi, good evening," Abimbola greeted her uncle. "How are you doing, Abimbola?" Femi replied. "I'm doing great. Uncle, this one you visited with this kind of big luggage, it seems as if you want to stay with me here," Abimbola said. "Can you shut up for once? One thing I hate about you, Abimbola, is that you talk too much. Don't you know that coming from the village all the way to this place is a long journey? And as a responsible child, you need to go get an elder a glass of water first after he or she might have returned from a long journey." Femi replied with an angry face. Abimbola's heart raced as she rushed to the kitchen to get her uncle the glass of water. She knew her uncle was up to something, and it's not for good. Later that evening, Femi called Abimbola to the sitting room and began saying the reason why he came. "Abimbola, since you have succeeded in killing your parents, my late brother and his wife, I have come to take what rightfully belonged to me. And in case you don't know, I have come to stay here forever," Femi proceeded. "According to our tradition, since my late brother, your father, were not able to have a male child, I will have to inherit all his property so that I will manage them in a very good way," Femi says. "Uncle Femi, what do you mean? If I really understand you very well, what you are trying to say now is that all the houses, the cars, the companies are all yours now." No. Uncle, how can you be this wicked? How do you think that is possible in the first place?" Abimbola replied. "As a matter of fact, with those your disrespectful words, you are leaving this house this night. In fact, this minute," Femi says with an angry face. "That is not possible, uncle. Where did you want me to go in this very dark night? First, you accuse me of killing my parents. Now, you want to chase me out of the house? No, uncle, that can never be possible," Abimbola replied. "If you don't leave this house this minute, I will strangle you to death, and there's nothing anyone can do about it, evil child," Femi says as he stands up from the couch and walked towards Abimbola. He dragged her towards the door and pushed her outside. "Go and never return back," he says. "Uncle, please, it's not safe out there. Where did you want me to go?" Abimbola replied, with tears filling her eyes. "I don't care whether it's safe or not. Don't you ever come close to this house again," Femi says, and closed the door, leaving Abimbola outside. Abimbola couldn't believe what was happening to her. It felt like she's dreaming. She went outside the street in search of a place to spend the night. That was where the worst happened to her. As she was walking all alone in the road, she met a man on her way. He was dressed in a black clothes with a mask covered on his face. Just as Abimbola was about to pass him by, he grabbed her at her back and pushed her into the bush. And before Abimbola could say a word, he made his way into her by force. As the man was enjoying himself, his passport photograph fell off from his pocket to the ground unnoticed by him. When the man satisfied himself,
He left Abimbola on the scene, unconscious and bleeding uncontrollable. When Abimbola regained her energy, it was already in the next morning. She found the passport photograph beside her. She picked it up, glanced on it for some seconds. This must be this heartless and bloody rapist. He must pay for this, she said to herself. Abimbola saw the whole world all against her. She was still mourning her parents when her uncle chased her out of the house. As if that wasn't enough, she was raped that same night. She had the identity and evidence of her raper, but had no one to fight for her. Maybe in the future, I will be in a better position to fight him, she thought to herself. Some weeks later, Abimbola started seeing some changes in her body. She fell sick and decided to visit a nearby hospital for a checkup. And when the result came out, she was totally shocked. Dear Abimbola Bamidele, you are 2 weeks pregnant, the doctor says. What? Are you serious, doctor? Abimbola replied. Yes, nothing was wrong with you. Those signs are just an early symptoms of pregnancy, the doctor said. No. Doctor, I can't keep this pregnancy. I need to abort it, Abimbola replied. What? Why would you want to terminate an innocent life? The doctor says. I was raped, doctor, Abimbola continued. She narrated her sad stories to the doctor, but out of fear, she couldn't show him the passport photograph of the rapist. And the doctor told her that aborting the baby isn't the right option. Doctor, I have nowhere to go. For the past few weeks, I have been on the street begging, and it's only God who have been keeping me alive, Abimbola says. Out of pity, the doctor decided to adopt Abimbola so that she can keep the pregnancy. His name is Dr. Christ, and he just lost his wife few months ago during childbirth. He made sure he provided everything Abimbola needed to survive as a pregnant woman, from balanced diet to shelters and all the fruits that will give her the nutrients her body required at the moment. However, 9 months later, one day as Abimbola was watching a TV program in the sitting room, she went into labor. Dr. Chris rushed her to the hospital, and the delivery was easy and successful. She gave birth to a very handsome baby boy, and she named him Uchechukwu, which means God's mind. Uchechukwu grew up seeing Dr. Chris as his biological father, and Dr. Chris also made sure to take very good care of Uchechukwu and his mother, as if he was his biological child. He was enrolled into one of the best private schools in town by Dr. Chris, and Abimbola always wished her son would become a lawyer in the future, so that she can be able to fight her raper, her uncle, and take the justice she deserves. And Uchechukwu too always speak of his desire of becoming a lawyer in the future. Dr. Chris also promised to sponsor Uchechukwu abroad for his education after his secondary school. However, many years later, Uchechukwu was already 17 years old, and he just graduated from secondary school. Dr. Chris was still planning on how to process Uchechukwu's visa to travel abroad when he fell sick. He was diagnosed of leukemia, which is a very deadly disease. Dr. Chris battled with the disease for more than 8 months, but unfortunately, he lost his life on the process. When Uchechukwu and his mom had the sad news that Dr. Chris was no more, Uchechukwu fell to the ground unconscious, his heart unable to bear the heartbreaking news. Jesus, Uchechukwu, please don't do this to me. You are my only eyes. Please, we can still survive without Dr. Chris, Abimbola cried out. After what felt like an hour of Abimbola calling her son's name, pouring cold water on his body, Uchechukwu finally regained his strength and he woke up. With Dr. Chris' death, Uchechukwu saw his dreams of becoming a lawyer, traveling abroad, all gone. But his mom, although knew it is not going to be easy, assured him that everything will be fine, even without Dr. Chris. After his burial, Dr. Chris' relatives chased Abimbola and her son out of the house. It was then that Uchechukwu discovered that Dr. Chris wasn't his biological father. At first, he was very devastated. Mom, I can't believe this. So, for more than 70 years now, you have been hiding the truth from me, Uchechukwu says to his mother. Son, you need to calm down. I did all of those things for our own good, Abimbola replied. Did I just hear you say for our own good? When you have decided to hurt me in the most painful way? Uchechukwu says, "My son, you are not matured enough to know the stories behind you. When you turn 22, I will reveal to you the real person and your true identity," Abimbola replied. After some arguments and dialogues, Uchechukwu decided to accept what his mother said and wait for the right time before asking her who his real father is. With the little Abimbola have saved up over the years, she managed to rent a one-bedroom apartment for her and her son, and life became extremely hard for them. In order to support his mom, Uchechukwu started looking for a job. He found a job as one of the cleaner in the house of a multi-billionaire in the city named Bolade. From the little Uchechukwu is being paid from his cleaning job, he would buy food and take good care of his mother. His boss, Bolade, had an 8-year-old daughter named Abisola. Mr. Bolade have been taking care of his daughter all alone since he divorced his wife 4 years ago, and Abisola was his pride. Over the years, Bolade have never thought of hiring a nanny to take care of his daughter because of the sad stories he had heard about nannies. He loved his daughter so much, and for that reason, he doesn't want anything bad to happen to her. Uchechukwu worked for Bolade for about 3 years, and with the little he was able to save up from his salary, he managed to open a shop for his mom, Abimbola, where she sells different kinds of snacks, soft drink and some food spices. And with that, life was now becoming easier for them. As time goes on, Mr. Bolade decides to employ a good nanny to take good and proper care of Abisola, as he is always busy every time, traveling from one business trip to another. He wanted not just a nanny, but a perfect one at that, who would give his daughter much time and the things he couldn't do because of his busy schedules. When Uchechukwu saw the job opportunity, he decided to apply for the job because of how attractive the salary was. If at all that he managed to get the job, he would be paid 20 times more than what he's paid from his current job. When he told his boss, Mr. Bolade, that he wanted the job, he decided to ignore other female applicants and give Uchechukwu the job, despite the fact that the nature of the job doesn't suit his gender. Because over the years he have worked with him, Uchechukwu have been hardworking and have done an excellent job. Not just that, Mr. Bolade have known Uchechukwu as a good and honest person, so he's the best person for the job. Uchechukwu was very happy on his new job. At least he can now be able to save up a good amount of money so that he can process his admission and go into law school, which was always his dream since childhood. He told his mother of his new job, and they were all excited about it. He started his job immediately, and everything was going smoothly. Abisola was now enjoying the company she never had with her busy father, and she didn't just took him as a nanny, but as a blood elder brother. And Uchechukwu too did the same by treating Abisola as the sister he never had. The bond between them was growing deeper every single day, till the extent that Abisola doesn't feel the absence of her father anymore whenever he travels on a business trip for a long time. Bolade was always happy seeing the great work Uchechukwu is doing and how happy his daughter is having someone like Uchechukwu around her. It seems as if the best decision he have ever made is employing Uchechukwu as his daughter's nanny.
1 year later, Uchechukwu's 22nd birthday was around the corner when Mr. Bolade secured a multi-millionaire contract, which comes with a clause that he will travel abroad as part of the contract. He left his daughter Abisola under the care of Uchechukwu, trusting him that he's going to take good care of his daughter. Uchechukwu eagerly looked forward to his birthday because he was very curious about the agreement he made with his mother a few years ago about the story behind his true identity. Finally, the day was here. As Uchechukwu woke up early that morning, the first phone call he received was his mom calling to wish him a happy birthday. "Good morning, Mom," Uchechukwu said. "Happy birthday, my son. The day we all have been waiting for is finally here. Son, I can't wait to open up to you everything that have been hidden from you for so many years now," Abimbola said through the phone call. "Mama, I can't wait for that moment I've been patiently waiting for over the years," Uchechukwu replied. He told his mom that he needed to prepare Abisola for school before coming to her place for his birthday celebration, after which he ended the call. After he was done preparing Abisola for school, he drove her to the school and went straight to his mother's shop. That was where his mom told him everything and the secret he have been very curious to know. "My son, I was born in a rich and comfortable family. My father was a very successful businessman, with many companies, houses and cars all to his name, but I lost them all in a single day after their car crashed and burnt them beyond recognition. Abimbola narrated all her sad stories, from where her uncle chased her out and inherited all her father's wealth, to where she was raped and got pregnant and gave birth to Uchechukwu. Uchechukwu couldn't just help but cry as he listens to his mother's sad story. "Mom, you mean you went through all those sufferings?" Uchechukwu says as tears roll down his chest. "Yes, my son. I have the passport photograph of the rapist here with me," Abimbola replied. "Can I see the passport?" Uchechukwu replied, stretching his hand for the passport photograph. And when he saw the pictures and details of the owner, he was shocked. It was the passport photograph of his boss, Mr. Bolade. "Jesus Christ, Mom, you mean this is the person that raped you?" Uchechukwu said. Yes, I found this passport beside me when I woke up that night, so I'm very sure it is the passport of the rapist." Uchechukwu didn't let his mother find out that the rapist was no other person than his boss, Mr. Bolade. He wanted to take laws into his hands. He knew what to do. A day that's supposed to be the happiest day for him as he celebrates his 22nd birthday became the saddest day of his life as he discovers the mysteries and sad stories behind his existence in this world. After he left his mom's shop, he went to a bar where he stayed for the whole day, drinking different kinds of alcohols just to heal from the emotional trauma he was facing, forgetting to go and pick abisola from her school. She managed to find her way home. When Uchechukwu came back home, it was already late in the night. He was very drunk due to the excess alcohol he had consumed during the day at the bar, and abisola had already gone to bed. When he entered the room, as he was about to jump into the bed because he was very exhausted, he discovered that he had entered the wrong room. It was abisola's room. He turned back in anger and was about to leave when an evil thought came to his mind. "Yes, this is an opportunity for me to take revenge. This evil man must feel the pain he made my mother went through," Uchechukwu said to himself as he turned back and walked towards Abimbola's bed. Being controlled by the alcohol, he lost his senses and forcefully slept with abisola. It was a very dark night for abisola, as her nanny, who have always been kind, treated her like a blood sister and have never maltreated her. But the first time he did was to hurt her this way because of her father's careless behavior. After the event that night, Uchechukwu, the once honest man, started seeing abisola as a sex toy. He would sleep with her anytime he wants, and after sleeping with her, he will threaten her. "If I ever found out that you told anybody about this, I will kill you and your father. Did you hear me?" Uchechukwu said to abisola after sleeping with her one night. Abisola nodded her head, and out of fear of being killed, she promised never to tell anyone about it. Few weeks later, abisola's father Bolade's trip to abroad was finally over. He called Uchechukwu on the phone and told him that he was already on his way back home. Uchechukwu seriously warned abisola never to let her father find out what had been happening between the both of them. Abisola started growing weaker and weaker with each passing hours, till the extent that she couldn't go to school that day or do some basic works she do at home every day. When she heard the sound of her father's car, she managed to rush outside to welcome him. Just as she was about to hug her father, abisola felt a knock on her head and her eyes were dizzy. Before she could hold up to something, her legs loose beneath her and she fell to the ground. Bolade saw her and immediately rushed over, only to realize that she had fainted, and he immediately rushed her to the hospital while Uchechukwu was watching from upstairs. After many checkups in the hospital, the doctor finally came out with the result. "Sir, your daughter is 2 weeks pregnant," the doctor says. "What did you mean, doctor? A 12-year-old child is pregnant?" Bolade replied. "Yes. The reason why she collapsed earlier was that her body system was too weak, which is one of the early symptoms of pregnancy," the doctor said. Bolade's heart was already burning in anger. He needed to know who is responsible, and Uchechukwu too have some questions to answer, but he needed to ask his daughter first, so he decided to wait patiently in the hospital till his daughter regains her strength and wake up. While at home, Uchechukwu started feeling some hint of fear in him. What could be wrong with abisola? Why are they staying so long? What have I gotten myself into? What if my boss found out what I have been doing with his daughter? He started regretting everything he have done, and out of fear, he decided to call his mother to confess everything he have done. "Uchechukwu, I'm disappointed in you. Why would you do something like that? I didn't train you to be a rapist. That child is innocent, for crying out loud. Abimbola says on the phone call. "I'm sorry mom, I was drunk that night," Uchechukwu replied. "Sorry dear, you would have to face the wrath if her father finds out what you've been doing with her daughter," Abimbola said and ended the call. After some hours, Abisola regained her strength. Though she was still feeling weak, Bolade was invited to speak with his daughter since he returned from his 2 months business trip. "Abisola, who did this to you?" Bolade said, but Abisola was very afraid to speak up. "Abisola, I'm talking to you. Who got you pregnant?" Bolade said. "I don't know, Dad," Abisola replied. Bolade noticed her behavior. She had been threatened and was afraid to open up, Bolade thought to himself. He had to create a safe environment for her first so that she could open up to him. "See, Abisola, I'm your father and I'm always available to protect you no matter the situation. You are safe with me. I'm here to protect you," Bolade said. "So I ask you again, who is this person that have hurt you this much?" Bolade asked. It's brother Uchechukwu," Abisola replied. "What? You mean someone I hired and paid to protect and take care of you did this to you?" Bolade shouted with an angry face. "Yes, Dad. He have been sleeping with me ever since you traveled abroad," Abisola replied. Out of anger, Bolade left the hospital and drove home very angry to confront Uchechukwu. He got home and went straight to his private room and bring out a gun and went to the sitting room to kill Uchechukwu. "Where is this bloody rapist? Come out now," Bolade shouted angrily. When Uchechukwu heard his voice, he attempted to escape, but it was already late as Bolade have already came out to the sitting room. "Oh, you want to run away after impregnating my daughter? Just move an inch and you will meet your ancestors because I'm going to blow your head with bullets," Bolade said. "I trusted you so much, Uchechukwu. How could you do this to me?" Bolade shouted. "Mr. Bolade, even if you kill me, my spirit will be at peace, knowing fully well that I have revenged what you did to my mother," Uchechukwu replied. "I don't care whatever I did to your mother. Just say your last prayer before I kill you," Bolade said as he positioned himself to trigger the bullet. Just as he was about to release the bullet to kill Uchechukwu, something very shocking happened. Did you think that killing Uchechukwu is the right choice for Mr. Bolade? Drop your opinion in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you love the story and subscribe to this channel for the next part. Thanks for watching.